So I'm going to do a quick tutorial on 3D printing face shields. So to start off, we're going to grab the 3D model from budman.com. So if you just go on to budman.com, this is the front page of their website. And you can scroll down a little bit and you'll find their 3D models right here. So just go ahead and click that and download them. I've already done that, so I won't do that right now. The second thing to do is once you have the 3D models, you want to actually turn these 3D models into G-code for your printer. So you have two extensions, .stl. So I'll show that really quickly. So you can see face shield.stl. So there we go. We've opened it in a 3D model viewer. This is a .stl, and you can see it is a 3D model. So this is what a .stl looks like. And then what your slicer is going to do, so we're going to go ahead and go to ultimaker.com/software/ultimakerkira, and we'll go ahead and download their software for free. So what this software is going to do, is it's going to allow you to turn that 3D model, that .stl file, and turn that into a .gcode file, which is basically instructions for a 3D printer to execute in order to make this 3D model. So STL is 3D model, G-code is more like printer move here. Just as like simple pseudocode. So I've already downloaded the software, so I'll open it up really quickly. So it might look something like this when you first open it up. So what we want to do is add a non-network printer, unless you have a printer over Wi-Fi. And then since I have a Prusa i3 Mark II 3D printer, I'll go ahead and go to other brands. Ultimaker is a brand. And then I'll scroll down to letter P. This is alphabetical. I'll select Prusa i3 Mark II. And then I'll press add. And there we go. You can see in the top left, so we've got our printer selected. Next thing we want to do is upload our 3D model into this slicer. So we can click this folder icon on the top left. That's going to open up this file viewer, and we'll go ahead to our .stl model. We'll click that and we'll press open. And there we go. It's been imported. So that's one right there. And once you got your 3D model in, what you can do, there's a lot of things you can do actually. First thing we'll do is we're going to select move right here, and we can slide it around. So I'll move it to the corner. And then you got several other things like rotating. So you can also rotate your model. And a good feature about all slicers is that you can actually print several models at the same time. So what I can do is I can multiply selected models, and we'll add another copy. There we go. So now we got another copy in here. I'm going to click this and then drag it in. And I'm going to click rotate, and I'm going to drag this circle about 180 degrees. There, and I'm going to move it again. And by the way, to navigate through Kira, if you want to orbit like this, you simply right-click on your mouse and then drag around. And if you want to pan like this, then just click the center scroll button and then drag around. And if you want to zoom in and out, you can also just move your scroll bar like that. And then we're gonna drag this model around, and that looks good. Obviously, you want to make sure that they print separately. And then we're gonna add two more parts, these strap locks. So that's what it looks like. I'm gonna go ahead and multiply, add another copy. Oops, wait, what? I selected the wrong thing. Oops, okay, my bad. So I'm going to go ahead and select that and then multiply the selected model. And there we go. Now we got two of them. So these will stay out of the way. Everything fits on the bed nicely. So that is the importing of the 3D models. And you can see there's also this origin at the bottom left here. So if your view is kind of glitchy, this origin means the bottom left of your printer. So now what we're going to do is choose a material to print with. So you want to make sure this matches with the material your printer is actually loaded up with. I'm printing with PLA right now. So we can go in here, select the material. Through these drop downs, we'll pick generic materials for now for simplicity. And then we'll pick PLA right here. So we've got PLA selected. Says generic PLA, so that's pretty good. Next thing we'll want to do is edit the print settings. So this dropdown has a lot of different things you can play with, but for this tutorial, we're focused on the main three, which is quality, infill, and shell. So we'll start off with quality. You can see there's two settings right here. We're going to ignore initial layer height right now because the default setting is pretty good. Layer height is basically, because 3D printers print in layers, they lay layers of plastic on top of each other. this layer height determines how far each layer is from each other. So the shorter the layer height, the smaller the layer height, the closer the layers will be together and the stronger the model will be. Although it will also take longer to print because you have more layers per model. So because we're printing these face shields and we want to get as many out as possible, we're going to change this to about 0.27, which is pretty high. Oops, sorry about that. So it's going to be a pretty fast print, although it's strong enough. Next, we'll talk about infill. So there's two things here, infill density and infill pattern. So we'll play with infill density first. Basically, 3D models aren't always entirely solid. If you set infill density to 100%, it would be entirely solid. Although if you set this density to 0%, it would actually be entirely empty and it would just be a shell. So I'll go, as an example, I'll set it to 15 for now, and I'll press slice really quickly. I'll go over what this is. So slice, when we press this button, it's actually going to turn these 3D models into .g code. And then Kira is also really nice because it has a really good preview, I'll click that, of what the print is going to, of the G code, basically. So there's these two scroll bars. The scroll bar on the right controls which layer you're looking at. Right now we're looking at the last layer, layer 72. If you change the layer height, this number will change also. We go down to layer number 1. You can see this is the first layer. It's really flat on the bed that's going to be printed. So if we go to some mid-range layer, you can see the infill is these grid lines in the middle, and they're grids because we selected the grid infill pattern. So you can see the print is definitely not completely solid. There are these grids, and it's probably about 15% solid and 85% empty, because we inputted 15% infill. So just to show you guys what it looks like, I'm going to go ahead and change the infill to something like 4%, which is what we recommend for these face shields. And lower infill density will make it weaker, of course, although you also have to use less material, and it's also much faster. So we're going to recommend 4% infill for these face shields. We'll go ahead and press slice again, and then we'll see what changes. So you can see this print is much emptier. These grids are way bigger. So as you can see, less infill is going to make it a lot more empty. So that's what infill looks like. So again, 4% infill grid is fine. So we'll move on to shell, which is the last setting that we'll tweak today. There's 3 main things we're going to look at, which is wall line count, top layers, and bottom layers. All these thicknesses are fine, default, pretty good. So we're going to recommend changing the wall line count to 2, the top layers to 2, and then the bottom layers to 1. And really quickly, I'm going to slice that, and I'm going to show you guys what that actually means. So just wait a moment here. Okay, so now that it's done slicing, you can see that significantly reduced the time. Before it was about 4 hours, now it's less than 3. So these shells really take a while to print. So I'll go over bottom layers first. For what shell is referencing is the outside of the 3D print that you're going to be able to actually touch. The inside is the infill, you can't touch that. Outside is the shell. So the shell has 3 main parts. There's bottom layers, wall line perimeters, and then top layers. So we'll go over bottom layers first. So we set the number of bottom layers previously to 1. So it's just going to be the first layer that's printed that's going to be a bottom layer. So you can see we're on layer number 1. This is the bottom layer. We go to layer number 2. My bad. Layer number 2. You can see there's these grid lines now. So that's the infill. It's no longer a bottom layer. So that's the one bottom layer. And we'll go up a bit. Now we can start seeing some of the wall line perimeters. So let's go ahead and focus on this right here. You can see there's 2 lines right here. That's because we set the wall line, the number of wall line, or the wall line count to 2. There's going to be 2 perimeters. Again, this is kind of the outside of the print that you're able to touch. So those are what the perimeters are, or wall line count. Now, if we go up to top layers, this is the first top layer. You can see the top layer is no longer infill. It's solid. So that's how you know it's a top layer. So that's top layer number 1. And if I go to layer 14, top layer number 2. And after that, it's going to stop printing top layers. And that's because we set the number of top layers to 2. So there you go. That's bottom layers, wall line perimeter, and the number of top layers. So now that we've got these settings down, again, we can press slice, and you can scroll up and down using this scroll bar, see which layer you're on. You can also use this bottom scroll bar and follow the path of the actual nozzle. So you can see that nozzle type or that simulator moving around, and that's going to simulate the actual path of the 3D printer's nozzle. You can also play it in real time. So that's a really cool feature of Cura. So once that is finished and you're happy with your print, you can go ahead and press Save to File. And then it's going to open up your File Explorer, and you can see it's a .g-code extension. So you could upload this file directly onto your 3D printer and start printing. And you can, of course, rename it whatever you want. With that said, if you have any trouble with the 3D printing process, there's always a lot of great resources online that you should consult. And thank you guys for watching.